Hi guys, Scott here, where today I'm going to be installing an electric power steering column from a Toyota Prius into the 66 Club Wagon.
Why is there always a Prius in front of me and driving slow? Well, you see, it turns out they're good for something else other than getting in my way. The steering columns out of them actually make a perfect retrofit to install electric power steering in almost any car.
So here we are in Priusville. There's a few of them here. And I've already harvested most of these. But this is the control unit here, and then the motor on the column. I was gonna grab this one, but looks like this one has probably been underwater from the hurricane. A lot of corrosion on stuff. Might have just gotten some water in the floor and it got real humid in here, but might not take a chance. So these have become very popular with hot rodders in the last few years because you can make this fit in almost anything. Now this is kind of a stripped down version. This is a top, you got a motor, you got a sensor, and this is the control unit. Now these have a fail-safe mode. So without any other input, you can hook up power wires and ignition wire, and it will just do like 41% of the power assist. And most guys say that's just fine, although there are ways to actually get speed sensitive steering incorporated in this, but it's a lot more work. Now this tube is 1.5 inches, the same as the Econoline tube, so there's no reason you can't chop this apart, either get some adapters or weld ends onto both shafts and splice this into a stock column. My plan, however, is to use this whole upper column along with the modern lighting, wiper, and even stereo and climate controls of this Prius column. I'm also going to make this column tiltable by using a U-joint here and a pivot at the bottom. And this U-joint is really the key to making this easy to swap on. It has a spline that matches the Prius shaft, and then on this end is what they call a 3/4 double D.
Double D.
And this is just a 3/4 hole with 2 flat sides. So after cutting the Econoline shaft, I'll just need to grind 2 flat spots on it. And then these set screws here will secure it in place. Now don't get me wrong, I'm no wuss, and I really don't mind the manual steering most of the time. However, all the cranking around is starting to loosen the rubber on my nice Grant metal flake wheel.
And it always just seems like whenever I'm in a crowded parking lot, trying to get in and out of a tight space, cranking on the wheel in full view of everybody, that I can just hear them giggling at me.
Now, the main criteria in doing this is going to be concentrating on finished height of the top of the steering wheel. I have a better, nice bucket seat I want to put in here also, which is a little bit taller, and that's going to complicate matters, but I've figured that about 2 inches higher than what I have here now is going to be about right, also with being able to tilt back. but I'm going to err on the side of a little higher because I can always cut it shorter, and we're gonna go with that. But the other thing to consider is these stalk controls and making sure they're not hitting my knees. So the first thing I need to build here is a bracket that will bolt to this column and a pivot point that lines up exactly in the center of that U-joint. Yeah, and so I'm just gonna build on to this stock bracket here to make it wide enough to clear the U-joint. So it's time to dig into the scrap metal pile, fire up the tombstone, and mill some steel together. Now I'm going to tack these bolt heads in here so I don't have to hold them to tighten them. So I've got the bottom part of my bracket pretty well done up and ready to go, and I got the pieces cut for the top portion, but now it's just time to dig in and get this column out. So this is my pivot point here, and then this is going to be where I cut the shaft. And now I will incise. Hope I measured right. So now I just need to grind a couple of flat spots on there for that to fit in, and I'll be good to go. Just want to do this a little bit at a time and keep checking. Close enough now I can finish it with a file. I marked the locations of these set screws. I'm going to drill a little divot there to make sure they lock in. And these set screws are way too long, so I'm going to zing them off a little bit like I did this one, and then put a little point on this one with my lathe. This here is just a parts column I'm going to use to mock this up. Got these little pieces here to use for pivot pins. So this is a piece I've made for my top bracket. And it lays up on the inside of the dash, and I can even use the stock bolts maybe to go through there. This piece here might not be long enough, but I don't know. I can put carriage bolts in there if not. Now, I had to slot these holes a little bit here, and I thought I might. You know, Ford slotted their holes too, and on the old column. So there's a lot of adjustment there. This shaft is really very rigid, right where it needs to be. So as long as you're not putting any kind of pressure on it, once you get this connected up, you can just mock everything up to it and tighten it down. So right now I'm gonna stabilize this side to side. I've got a plate that I welded onto this arm on this side, and now with everything in place, I'm gonna tack it down on that side, and then it should be right where it needs to be. Now with my top bracket bolted in here on the dash, I just need to fasten them down here. The way this is curved, I want to put a little twist in these angle irons to match that, and then drill it and bolt it. So with everything bolted together now and tightened down, it's really solid, and I'm super happy with it. So the point of the whole pivot thing there is to be able to have tilt wheel not only down, but all the way up like that. But for the time being, until I can modify this tilt mechanism, I'm just gonna put the old plate back in and bolt those together temporarily so I can drive. This is a super rig, but it'll hold it for now. So the control unit's plugged in, wires are hooked up. Twist the ignition wire together. I heard a little click. Look at that. So I got everything kind of tied up here and ready for a test ride. Just gonna run down the road real quick and back, but it's not exactly one finger steering, but it's pretty close. And again, this is only 44% of the total power, less than half of what it's capable of. But I can live with that. Completely silent. Oh. Oh. Oh God, that's like soft butter. Oh yeah. Oh, that's nice. Yeah. Sweet. Now, I was able to find this ancient Toyota adapter on eBay, and so that bolts on. However, there's no room for the clock spring, so you can't have in-wheel controls, and you'd have to rig up a spring contact in there to even make the horn work. Won't cancel the turn signals either, so you could take this piece of plastic from the clock spring and attach that on there and make that work. So it could be done. But something easier that I've done in the past is just take the old wheel and cut the center out of it, and then drill and tap holes in that to match the Grant wheel, or this one already has a couple of holes drilled and tapped, and so I may just drill a wheel. But for now, I'm just gonna run with this till I shake all the bugs out. And so these are some that I've been researching and testing. This is the 2002 to 2009 Prius, typical for what's most popular and what I installed. This is the next generation 2010 Prius, which is basically the same, although this one is telescoping. This one is from a Nissan, a little different configuration, but works just the same with 3-wire hookup. Nice tight little motor there, and it points directly north. Pretty compact, and I think would be a nice clean install. This one is from a Toyota Yaris. Pretty similar to the Prius, but more compact gear case. I think this one would be a good candidate for somebody that wants to keep their column shift, because it just may clear over the top of that case. And then this one is from a Mitsubishi. A different configuration with motor and a smaller gear case on that one as well, similar to the Yaris. Yeah, these have been showing up on lots and lots of late model cars in the last 10 years or more, because it just makes sense. I mean, there's no fluid, no pump, no lines to leak or break, no parasitic drag on the engine. The 2015 Ford Festiva I got my bucket seats out of had one of these systems in it, and I restrained myself from grabbing that one. So I could have a problem. But hey, I've sold 3 on eBay so far to finance my habit. It's just really exciting to me to be able to utilize this kind of late technology for pennies on the dollar. And this is the U-joint that I ordered from Amazon. Just look for this spec here, 11/16, 36 spline by 3/4 double D. And this is an example of a straight adapter. If you're not going tilt wheel, in my opinion, the double D connection is much easier and safer than trying to weld stuff together. I've welded shafts together a few times, and this is just easier and fail-safe. And there's an excellent article here on the Ranger Station. It's a forum for Ford Rangers. And yeah, this guy did a lot of research, checked different columns, and has a lot of comparison on there. Also includes all the pinouts of the popular models. So now I'm going to work on getting these controls all hooked up, but I'm going to save that for another video because some of you guys don't want to go this route, and I understand that. And honestly, this box, if you just went with a straight shaft, no tilt, and just use couplings to splice it into a stock Econoline shaft, it could be super simple. I mean, stupid simple. And really, for 50, 60 bucks at a junkyard, there's no cheaper way to get power steering. And like I said before, when these vehicles were new, they had hard, skinny bias ply tires. If you got fat, soft radials on it, you've significantly increased the effort that it takes to turn the wheel. So don't anybody give you guff for wanting to go with power steering. There's nothing wrong with it. It's a convenience, it's a luxury. Plus, personally, I've got over 2,000 pounds worth of tools and equipment in this thing that I drive every day. And now I can eat my burrito while driving through town.